Sliding across the room in a roller chair isn't exactly what I would call logical. It is, however, a fantastic intro sequence, which is why I did it anyways, but I'm not very good at estimating distances, so I sort of anyways. So, computers do things odd when we compare them to the way our minds work. Our minds think in abstract, and a lot of messy things get in the way, like emotions and that sort of thing. Computers, on the other hand, do one thing very well, and that is math. Regardless of how complicated what a computer is doing is, it's doing math. And so, to assist with that math, a computer uses logic. There's some base types of logic that come into play in computing, specifically and, or, and not. Now, there are a lot of different ways to approach things in computer language or code, but more or less, something is either going to be one of two states: yes, no, or true or false, on or off. If you think about binary, it's a series of ones and zeros, a 1 representing on, a 0 representing off. In this case, for simplicity's sake though, we're going to be looking at true and false, 1 being true and 0 being false. So, let's talk about our first piece of logic, what we're going to call operators. The first operator we're going to look at is AND. Now, say we have two circles in a Venn diagram. The first one is A, and the second one is B. In the case of AND, our statement is true when the circles collide, so that part in the center there is AND. Now, if we're looking at A or B, which is our second operator, it's essentially everything that the two circles cover, because it can be A or B or both. And now let's look at NOT. NOT is essentially a inversion of A or B. So, if we're looking at NOT, you have NOT AND, which is essentially A or B, but not the part where they overlap. And you have NOT A or B, which is nothing, nada, zilch, the circles are empty. Anyways, that's how we look at it in mathematical terms. Let's take a look at it in terms of programming. So, one thing that exists in most computer languages is the concept of Boolean variables. Now, a variable is essentially a box that you can put some information in. So, you can label your box more or less whatever you want. I want to call my box Susie, so I'm going to. But you can't put a number before a letter in most languages. That's just a little nitpicky thing. So I cannot call my box 1 Susie, but I can call my box Susie 1. Anyways, in terms of Boolean variables, there are two things that can go in that box or variable: true or false, like we were talking about earlier. So, here's how you write certain logical operators in computer language, specifically Java. This also applies to C# and some other languages, but Java is what I'm looking at right now. So, if we're looking at AND in programming terms, we're going to have two ampersands together, like this. If we're looking at OR, we're going to have two vertical bars, like this. And a NOT is an exclamation mark, like that. Now, when you're using a NOT AND or NOT OR, which can be abbreviated to NAND or NOR, you're just going to put the exclamation mark in front of the other operator. So, for example, NAND would look like this, and NOR would look like this. So another thing that we need to talk about in terms of programming is the logical if statement. Now, an if statement takes a logical operation and then does something depending on whether or not it's actually true. So if we look at the statement behind me, it's looking to see if the value stored in the variable a is true, and then it does something if that is true. So if a was true, it would do something. If a wasn't true, it wouldn't do something. Now, an if statement can also be followed by an else that specifies that it should do something else. See where I'm going with this? If the if statement is false. So in the statement behind me, if a and b then do something, if both a and b are true, then it'll do that something. But if a and b aren't both true, it'll do another thing because of the else.
Hey, this is McKinney, and I've got a bit of an announcement to make. This will be our last video, as the time period for this project is ending, and the four of us are moving on with our lives, and we'll be headed off to college soon. That said, we're considering the continuation of the Four Horsemen as a podcast. Our website will be going down sometime in July or August, but stay tuned to our Facebook page for updates. Remember, the closer you look, the less you see.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel across the land.
Why? I don't know.
Far and wide.
Logic.
Pokemon to understand the power inside.
I fell down.